Good morning, Golden K. Okay, today we got Ron Black that's going to be leading us in good God Bless America, Pledge of Allegiance, and the pledge. And we got Pat Riley with invocation, and Mark Avery will introduce our speaker. And we got Larry Wade on piano.
Thank you, Tom. Let's sing it from the heart, whether you're here or if you're online. Sing it with us, won't you? And then our Kiwanis pledge. As our country's flag signifies purity, valor, and justice, may we as true Kiwanians exemplify these virtues as we serve the children of the world. Please remain standing.
Let's have a moment to praise the Lord. Dear Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for this day. Thank you for everything that you do in helping us to take care of the children of Decatur and the world. We just can't do enough for them, and certain ones of them need more things than others. And just help our club to do the right thing for each one of them. In Jesus' name I pray.
Good morning to the greatest Golden K Kiwanis Club in the world. Our speaker today is someone with deep Decatur roots and a strong commitment to service both to the country and our community. Josh Chamblin was born and raised right here in Decatur. He's a proud graduate of St. Patrick's School and MacArthur High School. And some of you may remember him from his younger days as a Decatur youth park singer and a member of the MacArthur bands under Jen Culbertson. After high school, Josh chose a path of service, spending 8 years on active duty in the United States Marine Corps. Following his military service, he continued investing in his future by earning a Master of Business Administration degree from Millikan University. Josh is the owner of Chamblin Wealth Management and has been in the financial service industry for more than 10 years. Today, he'll be sharing insights on smart, charitable giving, along with other important retirement-related topics. Let's give a big Golden K welcome to Josh Chamblin.
Good morning, Golden K. How are you guys this morning? It's kind of fun being up here in front of you all like this. I don't usually see you from this position, so this is neat. Thanks for having me in this morning. This is a topic that's kind of near and dear to my heart. Has been for a long time as a financial advisor. I always aim to help people to always aim to help people to direct as much of their money that they worked hard for toward the people and the things that they care about, the causes that they want to support, instead of directing them to Uncle Sam and Uncle Pritzker instead. So, so that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today, is some ways that can help you to do that. One thing that I do need to point out before I get too far along is that what I'm sharing today is strictly for educational purposes only. It does not represent financial advice, and you should always consult with a financial advisor or a tax professional to make sure that the concepts we talk about today align with your personal financial situation. So that's my little disclaimer that I have to get out of the way. So here are the things that I'd like to talk with you about today, up on the screen here. I can't see those screens very well, so I'm going to have to use my cheat sheet. We'll talk about today the 2026 rules that the IRS has laid out for charitable contributions. We're going to talk about adjustments to adjusted gross income, and I'll explain what all that is when we get to it. We'll talk about something called the widow's penalty in taxes. If you haven't heard about that, that's kind of an interesting topic. I want to talk to you about the benefits of qualified charitable distributions. And I'll give you an example of what regular or after-tax gifting kind of looks like in comparison to making a qualified charitable distribution. We'll talk about some Illinois state tax considerations, and then kind of wrap things up with some key takeaways and any questions that you guys might have. So let's talk first about how you can deduct charitable contributions to reduce your taxes under the new rules that came out from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. And that's actually the name of the act. That's not just what they were calling it, but it's actually called that. If you are somebody who itemizes your taxes, anybody in here itemize? A couple of people? Okay. If you itemize your taxes, you can deduct under this act cash gifts up to the value of 50% of your adjusted gross income. And I'm going to talk more about adjusted gross income in a minute and some of the tweaks to that rule, but as a general rule, you can do up to 50% of your adjusted gross income for cash gifts that you give to charities. If you do not itemize and you take the standard deduction, which seems like it's the majority of you here, you're going to be happy to know that the standard deduction has actually been increased for this year. It's increased to $16,100 for single filers and to $32,200 for those who are married and filing jointly. So that's a little bit of a benefit there above what it was last year. A slight increase, not quite $1,000 increase for the single filers, and almost $1,000 increase for the joint filers. So, so that's a little bit of a boom. Another great bonus for those of you in here who are age 65 or older, which I think that represents a lot of folks in here, is starting in 2025 tax year and going through at least the 2028 tax year, you get a bonus deduction of $6,000. So in addition to the standard deduction that you already get, if you're 65 or older, you get to claim an additional $6,000 on top of that, raising the deduction for this group of people to $22,100 for single filers and $38,200 for couples. So that's great news. Makes me wish kind of like it was maybe 65. So not really, not yet. Yeah, I'll get there, I know. So, so anyway, so that's a great improvement for people that will be filing their taxes this year, because it started with the 2025 tax year. And so personally, I think you're going to see a lot of people have a nice surprise in terms of what their taxes look like when they do them, that they might be getting more back this year than they've been used to getting in the past couple of years. Another nice allowance under this new legislation is that also for those of you guys who do the standard deduction, you can now take $1,000 deduction, or up to $1,000 deduction for cash gifts to qualified charities if you're single, and up to $2,000 if you're married filing jointly, even if you don't itemize. You can still take those deductions on your taxes. So now you've got the bigger standard deduction that you're going to get, plus any money that you give to charity up to those limits, you can deduct that as well. You just want to make sure that the charity that you're gifting to is a qualified charity. And the IRS has a publication for that. It's up there on the screen. That typically includes churches, nonprofit organizations like Kiwanis, at least our foundation, I believe, and then veterans groups, things like that. Your typical things. If they're a 501c3, you're probably in good shape. So one thing you just may want to do is make sure that you get some kind of a receipt from them. We typically, when we send out charitable distributions for our clients, we also send out a letter saying, hey, we'd like to get a receipt back for that, please, so that you have something to prove what you did. So I mentioned adjusted gross income a moment ago. So what is that exactly? Basically, it boils down to your total income minus certain adjustments that are given to reduce that amount. And at the end of the day, the lower that you can get your adjusted gross income or your AGI down, the less you're going to pay in taxes, the less you're going to pay in Medicare premiums, things like that. For this group, I would venture to say that most of the typical adjustments to adjusted gross income, they probably don't apply, because there are things like educator expenses, health savings account contributions, IRA contributions, self-employed health insurance premiums, things like that that don't apply to a lot of folks if they're already retired or if they're not working for themselves. So I would say for the purposes of this discussion, your AGI is more than likely equal to probably your your total income, rather. Just know, again, the more you can lower that number, if there are some adjustments that you're allowed to make, the less you're going to pay. So that's a good thing to take a good look at just to make sure. So with that being said, getting back to you itemizers again, the current rule is that you can only deduct the portion of your gifts that are above 0.5% of your adjusted gross income. And I've given you an example of that up here on the screen. So if you have an adjusted gross income, for instance, of $100,000, then the first $500 that you give away in charitable gifts doesn't count. You can't count that. You can only count what you do above and beyond that first $500. If you fall into the highest tax bracket, so you're a really high earner is what they call that, it's actually capped at 35% of your adjusted gross income. So still pretty generous. I mean, if you think about it, if you're giving up to 35% of $100,000, that's close to $35,000 that you're giving away. So still plenty of room, I think, for most of us in here to take advantage of all of it. The good news is that if you do happen to be one of those lucky people who get to exceed that limit, you can carry over those excess deductions into future years for up to 5 years down the road. So they're not totally lost, you just have to save them for the next time, is basically what happens there. Now, that can all be significantly affected if you experience the loss of a spouse. And that's where we get into what's called this widow tax, or widow's tax penalty, is technically what it's called. And what this means is it's really about how a spouse, has been, while they were married and while their other spouse was alive, they have been taking advantage of the generous tax brackets for joint filers when they file their taxes. So their taxes have been lower on the income that they have. Then when they become a single person, once they become a widow or a widower, now all of a sudden they're forced to file their taxes as a single person instead of a joint tax return. And those single tax brackets are not nearly as generous. In fact, they're about half of what the joint tax brackets are. So ultimately you end up paying more taxes on the same amount of income that you were making before, which seems pretty unfair, really. I mean, you think about, wow, I just lost my spouse and I'm recovering from that situation, and now on top of that, Uncle Sam's going to come in and pile on more taxes on top of me. And it is. It's really kind of an unfair deal that happens to people, and it's not something that we can typically really plan for. So it gets hit with you all of a sudden, and it's just one more thing that you've got to deal with. That is a situation that will come up that you can mitigate somewhat through some of the things I'm going to talk about today with these qualified charitable distributions. Any way that you can lower your income, again, translates into lowering your taxes. One allowance the IRS does make in this situation is that if you are providing for a dependent and providing more than 50% of their support during the year, you get a 2-year reprieve from this going into effect to give you more time to get your situation in order and get prepared for that. But again, that only applies to spouses who have a dependent at home that they're taking care of. So what can we do to reduce the impact of the widow's penalty? And one of those things is using qualified charitable distributions to lower your income. But let me show you what that kind of looks like on here, just in terms of what the difference is in what you pay. So I just picked out a tax bracket. I picked out a 22% tax bracket to highlight because that's a very typical tax bracket that a lot of people tend to fall into. And you'll notice if you look there on the screen, if you're on the left side, if you're a married couple filing your taxes jointly, you fall into that 22% tax bracket only once you make more than $100,801 per year. Okay, so it's all that income that falls between $100,801 and $211,400 is where you fall into that 22% tax bracket. To fall into that same tax bracket as a single person, you only need to make about half that much. You need to make between $50,401 and $105,700, which is on the right-hand side of the screen. So it's a huge difference in terms of income where your tax brackets can change. So, you know, if you were that person that, let's say before, you were in the 12% tax bracket because you made, let's say you made $60,000 a year, okay? And as a joint person, a married person, that would put you in the 12% tax bracket, right? Now all of a sudden you lose your spouse, and let's say you still only make $60,000 a year, or maybe your income drops a little bit and it drops down to $55,000 or $50,000 a year. But now your tax bracket has gone up to 22%. So you can see where that becomes a problem, that becomes a penalty. The only, I guess, good news there, if you want to call it good news, is that it's a progressive tax bracket. So you're only paying that 22% on the income that falls within that band, not on the full amount that you made. But still, we want to try to minimize that as much as possible, and you definitely don't want to see an increase in your expenses just because of the fact that you've lost your spouse. So that is what happens when we talk about the widow's tax penalty. So, what are qualified charitable distributions? This is what I have brought up a few times now as a possible solution to help mitigate the problem with the widow's tax. It's also just great for anybody in general, whether you're a widow, widower, or not. Because it's a great way for you to direct money to charities pre-tax and lower your adjusted gross income at the same time. So even if you're a married couple, you don't have to worry about the widow's tax right now. That's not an issue for you. This could still be a great benefit for you, and it allows your money to do more. Think about it like this. So let me define what a qualified charitable distribution is first. Qualified charitable distribution is when you have a retirement account, like an IRA. How many of you guys have IRAs in here? Almost everybody. Great. You have an IRA, you reach the age where you're required by the IRS to take money out of that IRA, right? At one time, that used to be age 70 and a half. Now it's progressively been increased to people today get to wait until they're age 73. That age will probably continue to be progressed over the years, maybe up to like even 75 here in a couple of years. But anyway, the point is that you get to an age where the IRS says, hey, great job saving all that money all these years, tax deferred. We would like our piece of the pie now. And so you're going to have to take out some money out of your IRA. And guess what? Congratulations. We're going to add that money to your income for the year so that we get to tax it at regular income tax rates. Good job. So that's what happens. Now, when you do a qualified charitable distribution, you get to give money to a charity directly from your IRA, never processed through your hands. It goes directly from your IRA account to the charity. And guess how the IRS treats that? They say, hey, you know what? We support charitable contributions. We are not gonna add that money to your income for the year, and you're not gonna be taxed on that contribution. So, let's say you give $1,000 to a charity. You get to take that pre-tax money, give $1,000 to the charity, and it lowers your income for the year by $1,000, and you don't pay taxes on that $1,000. It's a great, great way to give. And I highly encourage everybody in here who has an IRA, who has to take distributions, that if you're making charitable contributions and they're not coming from your IRA, talk to your financial advisor, talk to your tax professional, and say, hey, I want to start doing this. I need to start doing this. Because your money just goes a lot farther. Think about it like this. Let's say you're writing a check to your church every month out of your checkbook. And it's out of the money that you've been paid. Maybe you've got some pension money coming in that you got taxed on, or maybe you've got some Social Security coming in that you got taxed on. You're paying with after-tax money. So, to give the church $100, you might have had to have made, what, $130, $140 to give them that $100 after tax. If you give it to them out of your IRA account that you've already got to take money out of anyway, now you only need $100 to give $100. And you can do IRA distributions as often as you please. If you want to do them weekly, if you want to do them monthly, quarterly, whatever you want to do, there's typically the flexibility in place for you to be able to do that. So I highly recommend, again, rather than taking the money out of your IRA and throwing it in your bank account at the end of the year, using it for Christmas gifts or whatever you might be using it for, paying your insurance payment for the next year, whatever. Use it for charitable distributions first. And then if you've got money left over that you got to take out after that, fine, so be it. But now you've lowered your tax burden, you've helped a charity, and your money has gone farther than it would have had you not done that otherwise. So that's what the big deal is about qualified charitable distributions. Some rules surrounding that: you have to be age 70 and a half or older to do them, and they are limited. I don't know anybody, haven't met anybody yet who has exceeded this limit, but I would love to. You are limited to $111,000 per person. If you're joint, if you're married, you can double that amount to $222,000 is the maximum you can do in qualified charitable distributions in a year. You can also give up to $55,000 to lifetime gifts. So if you wanted to do a charitable remainder trust or some kind of a charitable gift annuity, with like a community foundation or something like that, there is an allowance for giving up to $55,000 for those lifetime income gifts on a one-time basis, okay? And again, all this money that you do as far as these distributions are concerned, they count towards your required distribution for the year. It lowers that amount that you have to take out and be taxed on. Okay, so beating the dead horse here a little bit, but benefits of using these qualified charitable distributions for charitable giving: it excludes that amount, whatever you happen to give, out of your IRA from your AGI, which means for those of you that are itemizing, you don't have to worry about that 0.5% exclusion. Now you can give, everything that you give gets reduced from your taxes instead of just a portion of it, and you don't have to worry about the cap on the deductions. So that was the 50% for the majority of people, 35% for the high earners. You don't have to itemize to be able to do this. It's not necessary. You can get the full benefit of this even with the standard deduction. In addition to that, it could help lower your Medicare premiums. It would cause you to pay less taxes, less tax on Social Security, and it would help to reduce the impacts of the widow's penalty because, again, your income has been lowered as a result of doing the qualified charitable distribution. So, just to be clear, how has your income been lowered if you're doing a qualified charitable distribution? I don't understand that, right? Here's an example for you right here. I'm going to look at my cheat sheet so that I can see a little bit better instead of trying to see over there. So what I have on the screen on the left-hand side is if you were to do what I would call a regular after-tax gift. And I apologize if it's a little bit hard to see, but what it says up there, the very first box says, step 1, you have to take out your required distribution. So we're going to assume this is a single senior, okay, because I want to apply this to, especially to the widow's penalty. We're going to assume this is a single senior. Your adjusted gross income is $80,000 a year, which puts you in the 22% federal tax bracket. And you want to give $10,000 to charity, and you have to take a $10,000 required distribution, whether you give to charity or not. That's your required distribution for this particular year. So on the left side there, it is the left side, right? Yep. On the left side there, you do your required distribution, okay? Like you've maybe always been doing it. You just take the money out, say, yep, send it to my bank account. I'll just take it, and you withhold the taxes. So you take $10,000 out of your IRA. Immediately, your income has now increased from $80,000 for the year to $90,000 for the year because you took $10,000 out of your IRA, right? So your income has increased. It's increased your AGI. You say, hey, hold the taxes out for me because I don't want to get hit with the tax bill when I file my taxes in the spring. Federal tax at the 22% tax bracket would be about $2,200 is what you see on the next line up there, okay? Then you turn around and write a check to your favorite charity for $10,000 from the after-tax funds that you just got in your bank account. Let's say you deduct that if you itemize, but remember, there's that little caveat there. You can't deduct the first $400 of that because you're limited to deducting only anything that falls above 0.5% of your AGI. So there's another $400 cost in addition to the $2,200 that you paid for the taxes. So now our cost here for giving to this charity, even after we take the possible deductions that are available, so you probably could save about $1,700 here if you itemize your taxes. So once we deduct the $1,700 out from what we already spent, it still ends up costing you $10,500 to give $10,000. Okay? As opposed to, if you look at the other side of the screen on the right side, if we did a qualified charitable distribution, you just send that money directly, that $10,000 directly to the charity from your IRA. There's no tax due, and there's no caps or anything that comes into play when it comes to deducting from your taxes for AGI. So the charity gets the full amount of $10,000, and the cost to you is only $10,000. So your money has gone $500 farther by using that qualified charitable distribution as opposed to doing it the other way, okay? Anybody in here like saying, oh wow, I didn't know this, or this is news to me? Oh, maybe people out there are doing their jobs, that's great, I'm glad to hear that. Okay, so Illinois tax considerations. Because even though we all like to complain, and I do all the time, about how bad taxes are in Illinois, it is, at least today, knock on wood, still a retiree-friendly state in terms of how they tax retirement accounts. So let's hope that continues. But Illinois taxes, when you do your taxes here in Illinois, they do start with your federal adjusted gross income. So the more you lower that federal adjusted gross income, the less you're going to also pay in Illinois taxes. Charitable deductions here, there's no separate itemized deduction for Illinois, but you can subtract up to $10,000 for certain contributions as a single person and up to $20,000 jointly for certain contributions. But it's pretty limited. It's things like the Illinois funds, things like that. Then there's the Illinois Gives Tax Credit. This is a credit for gifts to qualified community foundation endowments. You can take a 25% credit up to certain limits on gifts to those causes, to community foundation endowments. QCDs, qualified charitable distributions, qualify for those gifts. So you can always use those to get that extra 25% credit on your Illinois taxes. So it's kind of like a double bonus there that you can get. So basically, what you want to try to do is combine the federal qualified charitable distribution benefits with the Illinois credit. and then that way you get double the benefits for that. All right, wrapping things up. So, 2006 brings limits on deductions. Excuse me, 2026, did I say 2006? Wow. 2026 brings limits on deductions. 0.5% is the floor, the least that you have to exclude from your AGI for distributions, but qualified charitable distributions bypass that for tax-free giving. We want to watch out for the widow's penalty. If you have a situation where you know that could be imminent, you need to be talking with a financial professional about, hey, what can we start doing right now to minimize that when it does happen? And then when it does happen, definitely get with your tax or financial professional and say, hey, what can I do to minimize the tax burden on me now that my spouse is gone? Planning ahead on those kinds of things. There are other things that can be done besides qualified charitable distributions. Planning ahead is key to that. But using qualified charitable distributions, and in some cases, even doing conversions of traditional IRA accounts to Roths and things like that can help you out there. Use your QCDs for AGI reduction and then add that to the 25% credit option here in Illinois. And then I would say after today, take a look at your required minimum distribution for this year. It should already be calculated because it was based on the December 31 value of your IRA. And you can either get that from your professional that you work with, or if you go on the IRS's website, you look up the life expectancy table, find your age and find what your factor is, take your end of year value for 2025 and divide it by that factor, and that'll tell you how much your required distribution is for this year. And then think about, like, okay, how much have I been giving to charity? How much of this could I leverage and put this towards charity, or maybe even be more generous towards charities? And then how much am I going to actually use of this required distribution for myself, and how much of it's actually going to be taxed at the end of the year? Great. Okay. Any questions on anything? We covered a lot, one short period of time. Yes, sir.
One of the things that was promoted with the big beautiful bill was no tax on Social Security, and I noticed you didn't really address that.
Right.
Did that actually happen in any way, shape, or form?
Yes and no. You should see a reduction in your taxes on Social Security, but not an elimination of the taxes on Social Security. And it's a complex answer beyond that, but you'll see some relief, but not total elimination of those taxes. Yeah.
If you can, I don't know if you can or not, but if anytime you want to change your age with my age, you just let me know.
I'll get back to you on that one.
And you can have all those benefits of an old guy.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
If I wanted to give just, not to a charitable one, but just to my grandson, how much money can I give him without the government wanting to tax it?
Yeah, so you're talking about the estate tax, or excuse me, the gift tax. And that, I believe, is $19,000 per person. If they're married, you could give to them and give to their spouse, so you could actually double that number if you wanted to. There's also a lifetime limit. So a lot of people get hung up on, I can only give them $19,000. Yes and no. If right now the federal limit is close to $14 million for a lifetime. And not too many people that I know of are going to ever get even close to getting that much in gifts from somebody to ever worry about violating that number. I will say this, I have seen publications that have said that there's a good chance that number is going to get cut in half once these tax subsidies all expire. So I would plan more for like a $7 million lifetime limit, but even still, that's a limit that most people are never going to have to worry about. So $19,000 is the annual limit, but you could conceivably give somebody $100,000 of gifts in a year, and they still wouldn't be affected by the gift tax as long as they never exceeded that lifetime limit. Their tax situation in terms of filing would get a little bit more complicated because they'll have to account for that, but you could give them more than the limit, as long as you don't worry about violating it. And typically, I would not do that out of your IRA if you can help it. I would probably do that out of other assets that you have, especially if you have something like highly appreciated stock that you own, where you have a ton of capital gains. Like, you know, I got a client that bought Microsoft 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and he's got just a ton of gains in there. So he's going to give shares of that stock to his relatives, which is going to unload those capital gains, that burden from him, and it's going to help them out. And they're at a lower tax bracket, so they can afford to pay the capital gains taxes on it. So, yeah. Thanks, good question. Saw another hand somewhere, I thought. Okay.
I got a question here.
Oh,
First of all, you mentioned something about if you don't take your itemized, that you can still subtract $2,000 for charitable.
yes.
Okay. Then the second question is, on the additional $6,000 per person or $12,000 for a couple, I understand that is reduced when you hit the $150,000 range by 6 cents per dollar after you hit that level.
It may be. I'm not aware of that particular part of it. I'm not a CPA, I'm not an accountant, so check with your accountant on that. But yeah, for most people though, it's going to be an additional $6,000 deduction that they can take. I didn't see that in the IRS publication that I read, but it's possible.
Yeah, it's on the computer.
Okay, gotcha.
Right here.
Yes, sir.
You talked about benefits that you like when one person dies. Well, what about the income from your death benefit? How is that counted?
I am not an expert on that either, so I'm going to have to defer you to an accountant or somebody to talk about that. My understanding is that the death benefit that you get, and you're talking about Social Security death benefit, is that it, or are you talking about
No.
from insurance?
Just your insurance when you die.
Insurance death benefit is not taxable.
It isn't.
No. No, money from insurance is not taxable.
Mhm.
Yep.
I'd like to go back to that Microsoft account.
Okay.
Now, you unload the tax burden from yourself,
Yep.
but also when you give that that stock to somebody, isn't like your children, isn't their cost basis the price of that stock the day you give it to them? So
It's-
their taxes are not gonna go up until they make money on that?
No, they inherit your cost basis.
Or they inherit the
Yeah.
cost basis?
Yeah. The good news about that is they also inherit that if you've owned that stock for more than a year, then it's considered that you've held that longer, it's a long-term holding instead of it being a short-term capital gain that they have to pay. The only time you get a step up in cost basis is if they inherit that stock. Let's say you pass away and they inherit those assets from you, they get a stepped up cost basis on the date of death of the person. But they're still gonna have to pay the capital gains on a gifted stock. They just we only have to worry about long-term capital gains instead of short-term, so. And you know what, look at it this way, this is what I tell my people. Hey, if you give me $20,000 worth of stock and I gotta pay 15% in taxes, I'm not gonna complain, I'll take that, so, yeah.
Here's a fairly facetious question for you. How does the government really know what you've done with your money? How does it, are there reports flying around somewhere that we don't know about?
There's a lot of reporting that happens, and it all varies from one type of income to another. The bottom line, like with your IRAs, is that whoever is holding your IRA is sending a report to the IRS to say, hey, here's how much this person took out of their IRA this year, here's how much we withheld in taxes, if anything at all. And so they know, yeah. Anybody else? Okay. Hey, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you. Hope you got something out of this.
Also have our governor's handout. It's not tax deductible. But it's fully abbreviated.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Well, it's time to challenge your thinking. And the word for this week is pandiculate. Pandiculate. So who wants to take a stab at it?
Does that mean not talking when you're supposed to?
Not quite. Kevin, you.
Well, it has to do with a panda's calculation.
All right.
How about speaking in more than one language?
Speaking in more than one language. Well, that might be that's a good stab at that. It's not right, but it's a good stab. Okay, Ron.
Making a decision for multiple options.
Well, all right, it's actually much simpler than that. Okay. Pandiculate is when you stretch in the morning and put your arms up and yawn. That process is pandiculate. Well, all right, I'll tell you what, Ron, come up. We're going to give you a chance to go here. But our prize process is changing today. No, keep your hands out of the box. All right. We got the spinning wheel here. Oh, boy. And the box is one option. It's number 5. Okay? And we've got 4 other items in addition to number 5. The wheel has, the wheel has 10 numbers on it. So we're going to duplicate. In other words, 1 and 6 are the same. 2 and 7. Okay. All right. Right. And for today only, we're going to disqualify number 5. So the box is not one of your options. Okay. So press the button right in the center. Okay. All right, let's try it again now. All right. Try the little bit over here. I don't know, Ron. It was working fine.
Ron, just pick a number, but don't say 1 and 6.
All right. Take the mouse. All right. No, just keep it on the surface. All right. Okay. Move that up on the little arrow. All right. So 9, which is a 4. Okay. So you got a window sticker for your car. All right. And we're going to check with you next week to see how many of you have been pandiculating. All right. So, I guess it's time for Linda and the attendance.
Today we have 50 members present, one guest, Dan White, and one speaker for a total of 52.
Okay, very good. Health report, Kathy?
I'd like to welcome Joyce Robinson back. Glad you could join us.
All right. And birthdays and anniversaries, Kevin.
Birthdays and anniversaries from the 18th to the 24th. We have a birthday on the 20th, Dave Johnson. He'll be 76. Let's sing.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, God bless you. Happy birthday to you.
Anniversaries, none. But I do have a humorous quote from Bob Hope. It has to do with middle age. That's the time of your life when even your birthday suit needs pressing.
Okay. All right. Announcements, Cheryl?
I have an opportunity for everyone. Franklin Grove Elementary School is having their KISS breakfast on February the 12th, and that stands for Kids Invite Someone Special. It's their Valentine thing that we've done every year. And we do need volunteers. So mark your calendar, February the 12th, that we will be needing volunteers, and that will be 7:45 until 11 o'clock. Most of us have done it every year. I'm not going to put a sign out just yet because it's too far away, but just keep in mind we will need some volunteers at Franklin Grove, February the 12th. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dan?
Yes, we got two things. On February 7th at 7:30 at the St. Teresa, the Key Club's going to have a winter formal dance. Anybody's invited to go out if you want. And secondly, I got 4 Charity Mania tickets left, and they're going fast, so if anybody wants one, come and see me after the meeting.
All right. And what do those sell for?
$20.
$20, okay. All right, is that tax deductible? All right. Kyle?
Okay, I know everybody has new calendars out there. I'm going to do a save a date and a reminder. June 12th is the golf outing dinner. And again, that's our big fundraiser. And I don't think it's too early for us to start thinking about whole sponsors and silent auction items. Those are the 2 things that draw in the most money. We make more money off of those 2 items than golfing or anything else, the 50-50. So please start thinking about it. If you know people who may be interested in doing a whole sponsor, start breaking the ice with them, kind of warming them up to the idea. Thank you.
Good, very good. Thinking ahead, all right. Doris?
I have been hauling around these little pamphlets for a couple of weeks. I discovered, I received a letter in the mail from supposedly the recorder's office about free help in preventing scammers from stealing your house and selling it to somebody. And I thought, well, here's part of the scam, and I ignored it. And then a few days later, I thought about it, and I went to the recorder's office. And I found out that this is real. They have somehow hooked it into our program so that anyone who owns a house in Macon County can call them or scan the little gizmo and say, basically what they're gonna want is proof that you're you, your address, you own the house, and they will have their computer monitor automatically the house. And if some odd things occur, then they will call you and say, are you doing this, or is this from some other source? So I put some of the pamphlets out there last week. I put some on this side and didn't get the whole room. If you don't have one and need it, I've got them. If you've already called, it's like a 2-minute phone call to deal with it, and it's free, and it'll keep your house from being stolen. And this is happening all over the country now.
All right, good fraud alert then.
Just, pardon me?
Good fraud alert. Yeah.
Yes, so this is a fraud alert.
All right, very
And
good.
it's a good free thing to do.
Okay. All right.
You got 2 more, Dick.
Okay, Susan?
Good morning. Trauma dolls, I brought material over on the table if you want to take some to cut trauma dolls out. If you need stuffing, I have bags of stuffing in the car and I'll be glad to get them. I'm trying to get a work day in February at the Police Benevolent House so we can be working on trauma dolls there. I'll let you know about that day. Good Samaritan Inn, I think it's full, but I have the sign-up sheet over there. It's January 27th, and the next carriage house, excuse me, is February 8th, and I've started a sign-up sheet over there for February. Thank you.
Okay, Paula?
Hello. I took the flip tabs that we have collected since our last donation to the Ronald McDonald House. I did that on New Year's Eve Day, December 31st, and turned in 171.2 pounds of flip tabs. And if Google's correct, it says it takes 1,128 individual flip tabs to make 1 pound. So, doing the math, that means that we have collected 193,113 flip tabs just since the last time I dropped them off. So what I dropped off on the the total amount that I've taken over there since we started in August, since I started with the program with the Golden K in August of 2022, we've taken over 742.4 pounds. So I think that's a pretty good donation that we've made to them. Friday, we have our lid sorting. While I was late, I was on the phone with a guy who talked to somebody who knew me. He called me just as I was getting ready to leave to come to the meeting, and he has quite a few lids that the Boy Scouts in Blue Mountain had collected. So, you know, people tell me they have a lot of lids. Well, everybody, you know, lot is kind of a relative term, because one time I met a lady in Monticello who said she had a lot of lids, and it was a partially full bag that was the size of a garbage kitchen bag, and I drove to Monticello to pick up. So, you know, lots of lids can mean a lot of things, but it sounds like they do have really a lot of them. So we've got a lot of lids we have accessibility to, so I hope that if you know, you've been one of our regular lid sorters, that you'll be able to make it on Friday. I'm probably going to try to have another one next week, but I don't want anybody to feel any obligation to come, especially when I'm having them so close together. But, you know, on this Friday, maybe somebody can't come that wants to, but maybe they'll be able to come on the day that I'm able to get the zoo next week. So we're going to ramp it up a little bit because we do have a lot of lids stacking up. Down at the Sailboat Club in the women's restroom, my winter storage, it's probably a 6x6 area. It is completely full, and it's up to the height of the top of the bathroom doors. And then it kind of goes around the edge a little bit. And we've got a bunch of them down in a garage that Dan and I went down and took a look at. in Stonington, and now this guy that's reached out to me. So we're not really hurting for lids, but what we need to do is try to beat the bushes and see if there are people, individuals, groups, businesses, and organizations, excuse me, that want benches or bird baths or picnic tables, so that we have some place to get benches and bird baths and picnic tables too, with all these lids that we're collecting and working on.
Well, it might help if you get somebody to take a picture of you with a bag of lids.
Well,
Of
somebody did.
what you consider to be a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We put it on the website and say, if you're thinking you've got a lot, it needs to look like this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even a little Menards bag is a good to add to the collection, but I will say I was a little like, ugh, that I drove clear to Monticello to pick up a kitchen-sized garbage bag full of lids, and that was considered a lot of lids in her mind, but anyway, so all is good, thank you. Oh, we are going to go on the 29th to get 2 more benches for Muffley Elementary School, and Susan's going to be riding with me.
All right. Survey starts today. And just as a point of clarification, the link that we sent you last week in Nugget was incorrect. I put the wrong one on there. But the one that you're going to get this afternoon in Nugget is correct and works. So, as soon as you get that, you can start. If you think that you're going to want some help, you've got a sign up here. When we get done today, please put your name on there so that we can get you set up for help, okay? And that's, I think, about it on the survey. So with that, I think I'm done. Tom?
Okay, just a couple announcements here. We had a board meeting last Monday, 2 days ago, and Kyle Anderson has agreed to be our club advisor. So, Kyle, thank you very much for stepping up. Just give him a hand for doing that. So he's working with Bob Bershaw to take over that responsibility. We had a $2,000 grant from the Finch Philanthropic Fund in honor of Dave and Janet Geibel. So we're appreciative of that $2,000 grant. I'll just go on now for the 50-50. John.
We had $91 this morning, so 45 to admin and 46 to the pot, for a total of $99. Last 3 digits, 104.
Did not win. It rolls over.
One other thing I wanted to mention about the board meeting, we decided to have Kite Day again this year, and we decided on April 18th. So we're planning for that day. There'll be more information coming out about that. Okay, Happy Jug. Happy Jug here.
You know how we have this policy in the club that if your picture or name appears in the paper, you put $1 in the Happy Jug?
Yeah.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, Paul and Lucanville had this huge article in the paper. I don't know how many column inches it was, how many times her name was mentioned, how many pictures. But I think with a spread like that, instead of $1, you're supposed to put like a percentage of your life savings in the happy. Anyway, I have $1 to help her get started.
I got a lot of flack from my family for giving up on the Bears. I walked away after the first quarter, but I was very happy to hear that they won the next day.
I have a couple dollars here. I'm happy that I'm going to be singing with the Memory Keepers Choir on Saturday out at Foursquare Church. And if anybody's interested in that, it is a choir for people with dementia. And I think you'd be surprised at the sound. I'm happy because when I came in this morning, I was looking for a work day to make trauma dolls. And it just takes one little yellow piece of paper, and Dan, he gets on the phone. We have a work day, so mark your calendars. And we'll not be there if there's snow, ice, or otherwise bad weather, but it'll be Tuesday, February 17th at the Police Benevolent Hall. So mark your calendars, Tuesday, February 17th. Come one, come all. We'll start at 8 and finish by 1 or 2. We'll have lunch. You can, if you don't want to sew, you can draw the patterns, you can cut the patterns, you can stuff the dolls, you can hand sew the dolls, or bring your sewing machine and sew the dolls, or come and eat soup, or whatever makes you happy. But again, mark your calendars, Tuesday the 17th at the Police Benevolent Hall, right off of Fairview. What is it? Oh, February, yes, thank you.
I would like to, I really liked our speaker today, so thank you for coming, Josh. And this is the first time I've seen an example of the charitable giving, and I understood it. Thank you.
I'm happy because way back before Christmas, the Decatur Bicycle Club collected 59 used bicycles that were repairable, refurbishable, and we paid to have them refurbished and donated them to the Toys for Tots program through the Good Samaritan Inn. So 59 bicycles that came out of garages and wherever and got put back to use. And I did get some publicity on that, so I suppose I owe $1.
Yeah, I've got $1. I just wanted to help Paul out. I don't want her to go broke over an article in the paper.
Mary Claire, I'm sad to say you probably weren't the only one that gave up on the Bears.
Okay, anyone else? Kevin.
Okay, does anybody remember the Herald and Review print edition? Well, it keeps getting smaller all the time, and I know a lot of you are online now instead of print edition, but I still get the print edition. Well, the other day, it went under my threshold for the door. It was small enough it fit under. And I looked all around on the porch area. I didn't see it anywhere. And 2 days later, my wife spotted it from the car. So I was happy that I could do my Sudoku.
Anyone else happy? Okay, it's not. Okay, our storyteller is Bobby Lewis.
I picked out a word for the day too. It's ambiguity. That's what we'll do. Anyway, I went into the UC Bank here about a week or so ago. I was standing in line there. Lady walked up to the teller and said, would you please check my balance? Well, tell her, reach over the counter, go to the Dutch. Luckily, the man standing behind her caught her before she fell all the way over. Okay, Bobby. Work on that now for next month. Okay, our next speaker next week will be Chris Ellis and Devin Joyner, who's the executive director of Old King's Orchard. You know, talk about Old King's Orchard. Okay, any other comments from the peanut gallery? Okay, hearing none, we are adjourned.